We were a little on edge yesterday with the not unexpected request of the Jaguars, but there's rumblings around our town that perhaps Dan Quinn will not go interview in the 2-week window. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I would say that's more probably a timing thing than anything else. Like, I haven't heard that he's not doing the interview. I think it's more of a question of, do they want to do it in the window? And it's actually, I'm not even sure how many the Jaguars end up doing, because what they're going through right now is they're weighing the possibility of, do we want to interview someone by Zoom, or do we want to wait 2 weeks and then get them in person? Because, you're not going to interview someone on Zoom, let's say, Saturday, and then a week later bring them into the facility. Like, the reason you do the Zoom interview is like, that's your interview, So I think it would make more sense to wait and do it in person. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is more of just a timing question than anything else.
In terms of the Jags and like some of their strategy, whether you've heard it, whether it's what you would think would happen, would you think they would skew towards an offensive coach, especially since Trevor Lawrence is going to apparently have some thoughts on the process?
Yeah, I would think that's probably right. I think that sort of the same thing they tried to do last year. It didn't work out great. But, hire some sort of offensive mind who can come in and help the quarterback and set the culture and just be the guy running the offense and have a really strong mind on defense, and there you go. I don't know that that's the best way to do it. I mean, you look around the league, a lot of the best coaches are defensive coaches, Belichick, Carroll, Tomlin. I mean, there's a lot of them. But, this would be a way. Seems to be what the Jaguars want to do. And we'll see who they end up with.
Ian, there's obviously going to be more, head coaching opportunities, I would guess, outside of just Jacksonville for Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore. Has Dan Quinn done enough here in this year in Dallas for teams to look past how things ended in Atlanta, or do you think that's still going to be a factor for some people?
I don't think that would be a factor regardless of how he did this year. I mean, first of all, not a surprise that Dan Quinn is a very good defensive coordinator. He, has always been a great defensive coordinator, and I don't think he needed to prove anything at all as far as, what kind of coordinator he is. I think most people, when they look at his tenure, they look at the sort of lack of personnel help that he had by the end. I mean, it was a tough roster, and Julio was barely practicing, barely playing, clearly was not on the right page with the organization, clearly. There was a lot that went wrong, and I'm not sure how much that went wrong was actually his fault.
On the other side of that, obviously Dallas's offense was incredible this past weekend, but do you think any of the shine came off of Kellen Moore for teams after the offense had their struggles for about a 6-week period?
I would say, as it pertains to Kellen Moore, I mean, sorry, I was just reading a text.
Oh, please. Go ahead.
Share. Yeah, let us know.
It was from an interesting candidate, as a matter of fact. I will keep his identity to myself. As it pertains to Kellen Moore, I think he's going to be a really intriguing candidate regardless. I mean, the offense is great, obviously, and they looked really, really good the other night. It just made it look so easy. And I think everyone knows how much of a hand he has in the offense. Really, the question is just, is he ready? And the fact that he's a former quarterback, the fact that he's been there, the fact that he's the Cowboys offensive coordinator, which you guys know, like, that is a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is a pressure cooker. So, like, I always thought, like, Jason Garrett wasn't perfect, right? But he was the perfect head coach in Dallas because he shrugged everything off so well. I would say Kellen Moore probably deals with the same sort of thing where he gets more pressure as the offensive coordinator and kind of just shrugs it off, where he'll have enough experience just doing that where he could handle being a head coach.
Now, one of the things that obviously has permeated the sports world today and took over last night was the death of John Madden, and I just kind of wanted to obviously give you a forum to give us any thoughts, and we were kind of kicking around, like, in terms of people who have impacted the game of football the most. It feels like he's pretty darn high up on that list.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, to me, like, it's kind of like Forrest Gump in a weird way, where, like, every single every single different thing that's happened in football history, John Madden has been there for it. Whether it's like great coach in so many classic moments, to just, broadcasting some of the great moments, to creating the most iconic video game that basically brought gamers into the forefront. I mean, all of it. It's really incredible. And I think the coolest thing to me, there's a lot of cool things about John Madden, but the coolest thing to me was he loved football and always seemed intent as a broadcaster in making sure that we understood why he loved it so much. And I really liked that. Like, the way he described it and the way he watched it was him trying to show us, like, here's why I like this, and you should like it too. And I thought that was a really cool approach to broadcasting.
And I've heard or had some conversations with some people that have intimated that Dan Quinn might view, he talked the other day about finding the right opportunity or getting the right opportunity. It would have to be for him to leave Dallas. I've heard some people, suggest that Seattle might be that type of a job for him. What do you think the chances are that Pete Carroll is back next year? And if the Seahawks are looking for a new head coach after the season, do you think Quinn would be on that short list?
I don't think Pete Carroll is going to get fired. I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's, been the guy in charge with all the say in essentially a dynasty, a team that's always in the playoffs and always competitive. This is the anomaly. So I don't think he's going to get fired. If he decides to retire, which I would be surprised at, but if he decides to retire, then yeah, I would think Dan Quinn would be in the mix. Mainly because you wouldn't have to redo very much. Just slide him right in there, maybe get a new offensive coordinator, maybe not, and just keep rolling. Like a lot of if they do have to replace Pete Carroll, like if he steps away, then I would say you're going to bring someone in who will just keep it rolling like it was without having to alter any of the core principles, which are obviously very strong.
Now, I was really curious about this, a team that was earlier in the season rolling despite all of their injuries, and it's really caught up with them the last month or so. What's the latest on just the Ravens, especially with their quarterbacking situation?
Well, Lamar Jackson is practicing today, which is good, because, almost always if a starting quarterback can practice on a Wednesday, that means he's going to play. Now, I watched some videos of him. He looked like he's limping. I know that was, I would say, a fairly significant ankle injury. It's definitely not nothing. So, I wouldn't expect him to be 100%, but, like, they got to win, and I would expect him, if at all humanly possible, to be out in the field.
All right. Appreciate you jumping on, talking about the coordinator situation, talking about the overall plight or not plight of the Cowboys. Thank you very much for the time, good sir.
All right. Good stuff. Good talking to you guys. Take care.